the spirit of Australia is the same as similar to the U.S. It's this openness, we feel. There's an openness, a freshness, a start new. It's almost like they're nicer than Americans. Kind of whenever I meet Aussies, there's an innocence as well, or like an even more freshness is my sort of essence, if you can classify anything. So it makes sense to me that people would want to do something like the Course of Awakening. People that have been doing it for things like spiritual awakening for a long time, like in LA, or like at the Bodhi tree in LA, these famous places, the original places of spiritual awakening in the 60s, when the whole movement started. They're too cool for school sometimes. I'm teasing, but I love finding, and it's funny, like Croatia and Slovenia this year. I'm getting people. We're gonna do something there. It looks like, for sure. Um, and there's this huge awakening on the planet that millions, if it's 20% of the people on the planet right now, if we have what, 7 billion people or almost,
Hmm.
20% of that is a lot, 1.2 billion people, or whatever it would be, 1.4 if we're 7 billion. That's a lot of people that are ready for a new paradigm.
I
So whenever we
totally
feel
agree with you.
isolated, a lot of people feel, well, my family's not understanding me, or we feel alone. But it seems to be part of the process to go through. It's like we've been planted in places because our energy of awakening within that family, that community, that relationship is somehow part of the radionics of it. We need to radiate it, because if we all went and lived on, in Australia, 1.4 billion of us that were all interested in awakening, it would make the planet go, kind of unbalanced.
Yeah, unbalanced. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually in the right place, is what I'm feeling, just to talk about a little bit. Because a lot of times we feel, while we're going through our awakening, that we're alone, or we feel hemmed in, but we can feel the new, how easy it could be with free energy, open emotional transparency with people. It's okay to feel feelings. It's okay to, we're going to have a new model for love, instead of this ownership, fear, mixed love. Money is going to basically go away once there's enough abundance, for everybody. Who cares? If you go to an island that's a retreat for billionaires, they don't need to protect anything. Nobody steals food from each other. There's nothing to steal. But
Yeah.
to get there, there's a more than a billion of us that know that's real. And sometimes we get impatient or sad that, why isn't it happening now? I just worked with a client today, and she has a direct line to Jesus. That's her background, and to the to God's source, to the inner voice. Call it your own higher self. You don't have to go. Jesus says, "Hey, don't join me. I got enough followers. Go find your own thing." He's like, "I don't need any more sycophants. Thank you. Go take care of yourself. I'll just read the manual. We'll help you when you need it. There's lots of manuals."
Read the manual.
So,
Love it.
right. So if but these teachers, Yogananda, Sai Baba, Babaji, Krishna, Buddha, Mataji, there's Mother Mary, lots of Kuan Yin, different goddesses are coming back into the fore. Ayahuasca, of course, and Pele. These are ascended women. All these beings hold frequency for us, and so I don't know why they got me to talk about them. But so as we're doing this awakening, uh, there's going to be a purging process, because we can see the end goal, and sometimes we get tired. It's like, seriously, we come home and we have to pull our keys out to unlock the door, and it's a pain in the butt. Why do we even have locks? This is stupid.
Yeah.
Like at night, I'm dropping my keys, I can't see, or whatever. So, or cars. Why do we have cars? It's insane. I mean, of course, there should be, if anything, we should just be floating beings, like the Siddhas. But even if we need craft, we should have these transparent. I might have talked about it last time. After I talked about having transparent UFOs that we can float in. We're literally floating in like perfectly ionized and what do they call it? Structured water that we spiritualize, and we can have it blue tint, or we can float all over the world soundlessly. It's just a magneto drive or something. There's no energy used at all, no pollution,
No pollution.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's insane that we have cars. If anything, we should have that they should float 5 meters above the ground so all the animals could run underneath. It should be green belts or something. And all, but that's where we're at. So the awakening portion of the planet, we're going to get sometimes impatient, sad, depressed, because we're like, I can see what it can be like, but this is what it's really like. Somebody just smashed the window out of my car, or something, right? You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
or we or we just feel tired, or I'm irritable. I remember a spiritual teacher, one of his seminars, he was saying, after I got to the parking garage and someone had smashed out all the windows of my car.
Wow.
There's like an unconscious fear, the mob, if you will, the torches and the pitchforks. Like if you put yourself out there, you literally are scaring the current paradigm, and they turn on you and render you. Like Jesus, you don't throw your pearls before the swine, they'll trample them and turn around and gore you with their tusks. And that's pretty much happened with everybody. The Beatles. I mean, it happens to the Beatles. John Lennon makes a little remark about, man, this is crazy. The Beatles are bigger than Jesus. And people are, we're going to shoot you, boy. You know? And so there's this collective weight, dead gravity, really. It's a collective gravity. The reason we don't have anti-gravitic machinery publicly, or the U.S. government has it, and many other governments have it. Sure, in
Yeah.
Pine Gap, Australia, there's some stuff going on out there.
Mm.
But the reason we don't have it publicly is because we haven't publicly accepted it, that it could be possible. So it's not the evil Illuminati cabals that are totally to blame. It takes two to tango. You need a victim and a perpetrator for it to work. And it's a it's a strong journey, to realize what part of me is still shackled. One of the books I wrote during my awakening was called Shackled Gods. And it was just me being honest in verse form, and like just writing sort of flow of stream consciousness about this 1 foot shackled still. I find, I'm sitting in the timeless, but with 1 foot shackled still. And that's kind of where we're at as humans. And the real healing will come from doing a good cleanup, a good purging. Then the other stuff flows in automatically. So we got to do both. It's not all, let's go live in the mountain, like the hippie movement in the 60s. And like I've said, there should be a monument on the Washington Mall for the hippies, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
They set it off, all of it. Organic food, openness, feminine awakening, new spirituality, yoga, everything. Boom.
What do you think happened?
Well, what happened was the one thing, and this is what I'm interested in teaching and working with, the one thing we don't get, we can see the communal or the ease and the freedom and the communism ideal, that ideal of, come on. But it actually turns the opposite. Unless the individual heals the toxic energy in themselves, you can read about it in a book and go, oh, that's so true. But actually doing it is different, because that means your whole body has to be involved. And that's the full spectrum human. Not just understand it or vision it through your third eye. Everybody's all obsessed about the pineal gland.
Pineal gland, yeah.
All that. And yep, we should be able to, open the pineal gland. That's not the answer. That's one of 7 answers. Last time I counted, there's 7 chakras in your body. The pineal gland is just one, the third eye. You need to open your heart. You need to have truth in your throat, truth and discernment and listening. You need to have wise heart, not namby-pamby heart, bleeding heart, not harsh heart. You need the balanced, wise heart. You need your solar plexus to operate all around you in 360 and 7 dimensions. You need your sexual energy to go, work both feminine and and male. You need to have the breathing in and out of the sexual. It needs to be set free. The root chakra needs to be appreciated and loved and accepted. It's the red magma of the earth, and we've totally judged it as garbage. We've judged sustenance and nurturing as garbage. There's different color spirits on earth, by the way. Earth is a melting pot. We have ETs, or various forms of us that are ETs. We've got ancient spirits, the watchers, if you will. We've got angelic spirits. We've got nature spirits. And then we've got something called the rainbow spirits, which is a lot of humans. And we literally we're all colors, but we're also sort of in a family of a color. And so if you look on the earth, there's a set of books that usually we shouldn't mention, but they're called The Right Use of Will, that talk about this. But there's like the crown chakra spirits tend to be the purple. They're the purple spirits. They have their abilities and their downfalls. Well, the red spirits, we've judged. They are the physical, strong physically, but we've judged that as dumb. You know, it's sort of like the brute. And they literally end up doing the menial jobs on earth. We've judged heavenly is better than earthly. This is part of the misunderstanding. No. It's all meant to work in concert. You know, the flowing up and down the spinal column. The red communicates with the purple, royal purple, right? The divine rule of kings. Here's the crown chakra with the little points on it. The literal physical crown you'd stick on kings. They're meant to be antenna, those little points, so they download the wisdom and then spread it through the whole body of Christ, or the people of the divine king. See? And so that plan is beautiful. But so we've got to relearn the cleaning of the full tree of life is where it's at. You know, we can't abandon. Many yogis tried for centuries to abandon the lower chakras. And you can do that through trickery or through ascension methods. The Tibetans are masters of this. I'm going to be a little controversial here. The Tibetans, there's a lot of black magic occult stuff with all the Tibetan Lama practices. Okay? Because basically they have a judgment against the body, against sexuality, against, quote, the lower emotions. So they get very good at, see, the Dalai Lama people are going to be angry at me now. They get very good at enslaving a population of farmers to do all the work for them, the lower chakras, and feed them their crops, their money, and their kids. You understand? So when we go, oh, the Dalai Lama is so holy and the Pope is an idiot. No. It's pretty much the same thing. There's a little more direct occult techniques with the Lamas. Now, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. There's really good stuff, but there's no, and you may have to cut this part out, but
That's okay.
There's no accident that the Red Army, the red angry soldiers of China, that's the most judged chakra, that red root chakra. So the Red Army comes in and dethrones that whole system. See, if there's always an equal and opposite reaction, and if we create our own reality, why the bleep will the Dalai Lama and his cohorts create the reality of being invaded by the Chinese soldiers?
Yeah.
Deeper truths are going to show us all up. No lies are going to survive. This new thing is with Jesus, Jeshua, Babaji, Yogananda. A little child shall lead us. Meaning, and Jesus says it plainly, unless you become as little children, that's pretty strong, unless you do this, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, that doesn't sound like Solomon-esque wizardry, Merlin, Solomon, Saint Germain being able to manifest gold and all. Now, these guys are all great teachers, but who's more powerful, the baby child, Krishna Jesus, or the rishis, or King Solomon? The baby Krishna and Jesus is more powerful. They're inheritors of the full dominion kingdom. Krishna was a literal king in Dwarka, which they thought was a mythical city, and now they're finding it up there in North
Yeah.
Western India, you know. So that's my interest. That's my interest in. The final gateway is not super wizardry and super yogic technique, and I'm speaking from authority. That's my lifetime. So when I was 19 years old, this lifetime, the yoga I remembered. I had a Kundalini awakening. I'm a Kriya Bond with Yogananda's organization. Been doing that for 30 years. I still employ those techniques. I know it. But the real freedom is when you're going to go back to conscious innocence, meaning the second birth that Christ learned in the great tomb of the pyramid. He had that initiation that you die and come back to life. He had the resurrection initiation in the great sarcophagus, not a sarcophagus, in the initiation granite chamber in the great pyramid of Giza. He did that. Moses did that too. He was a high priest in Egypt. That's the second birth. That's where Jesus gets the whole idea of the second birth. You walk out in the morning from the Great Pyramid after you've died and you've traveled to all these star systems through these little shafts. You've had an assistant, kill you, and basically sometimes they had to actually kill them or strangle them for it to happen, if they, to get them to die and go
Mm.
traveling in the cosmos, and then come back in the morning, walk out into the rising sun of the pyramid, and that was their resurrection. But that's the exact same story as Don Miguel Ruiz tells about the original smoky mirror Toltec that discovered that he was the star system, and that when he came back he also knew he would forget who he was, and he called himself the smoky mirror. But the place, the magic missing piece of the hippies and of every teaching, I would suggest, is this honesty of uncle, the emperor has no clothes. The childlike, see, innocence is the highest commodity in the universe. Why is every saga, every story, Legend, the movie with Tom Cruise, all of it, what Satan is really after all the time in these stories, what the devil wants, is the innocence of the unicorn, of the child, of Snow White, right? They want the purity because it's the highest commodity in the universe. It is the most pure soul essence there is because it has the closest access to source itself. So
Right.
unless we as humans reconnect to that part of us, and we all have it, it's much more dormant in some of us, but some adults now are truly born with innocence. We come in as little children that way, but you can feel it. Some adults retain that. It's like they stay a child their whole life in a sense. They stay alert. They stay open. They're not the walking dead. They're not zombies. They're still alive. That needs to reflower, reconquer the whole body, the whole energy system. And that's scary because we're taught, the current dominating paradigm teaches that the most vulnerable thing is an open, honest heart. Well, because everything is totally backwards in the current dominant paradigm, obviously the open, innocent heart is the strongest thing.
And that's what we hear since we were little kids. That's what I listen to a lot. That you can be weak, and by weak I mean you can open your heart that much to to people or to anything. You have to be strong, and the only way to be strong is to like be a little bit reclusive or be careful. Yeah.
To block, to shield ourselves, to shut down. But the reality is the other way. The safest thing in the world is I always tell that story of you can have President whoever, Obama, riding in that super bulletproof limousine. And one of my businesses I had worked with two partners. One of my partners was the advance man for George Bush and for Mrs. Nancy Reagan. Okay? And so at one point when her mother, anyway, I got to see the motorcades and be on the inside of it and some of that. It's part of my training to see what goes on. Um, and they have 4-inch bulletproof glass. They have a air system that if even there's poisonous gas, it filters it. The president driving by in that super protected limo, and here's the young girl, single mother with a little baby in her little stroller carriage on the side of the road. that little baby looks the most vulnerable, and the president looks very safe, but it's actually the opposite.
The other way around, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is the final frontier in spirituality is innocent emotions, innocent hearts, wise innocent hearts, wise as serpents but gentle as doves. See, meaning wise as serpents means as intuitive as the serpent. The cobra is the final test. You can pet a dog and a cat. Pretty much anybody can handle that. But when you go to a tiger, it's a little harder. You know, when you go to the cobra, it's the final test. If the cobra feels safe with you, your kundalini is clean.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where we're headed back. And at that place, you can't fool the reptilian. You know, the reptilian energy is so basic. It's so fundamental energy. We're all reptilians. The first part of the brain that forms is reptilian. Now, is there, you know, the whole ET thing, good, bad, reptilian? Yeah, it's true. But there's, you know, are humans good or bad? Both. Well, if you believe in the ET reptilian, what do you think? They're going to all of a sudden be all bad? No, that's not how it works. There's a mixture within every form, of course, you know. Just because you're, you know, a shaman in the Amazon doesn't mean you're good,
Mm.
or you know that you're working for the awakening. You could be working for domination and control over people. And as ayahuasca gets more and more popular, that's going to happen more and more. You know, it's just part of the learning. Each one needs to
Yeah.
learn to discern. You know, so wise innocence is the final frontier in spirituality. That's my interest. Has been since I quit doing spirituality the old way about 20 some odd years ago. Um, I was doing a course. I used to do it with a friend. We were in New York. We traveled around, and I just said, you know, there's some I can't do this anymore. I know where. Imagine Tony Robbins teaching neurolinguistic programming. It's kind of like some of that stuff, you know,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's all cool, but but instead of manipulating image and manipulating results and success worship, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want direct personal relationship with God source, and that's what I want. And so that's an exacting path. You will be a little different than others. They'll love you, but you'll scare them. Um, they won't understand you. They'll want to keep you safe, and you're going to go, no, I need to follow my crazy shining star. But it's been that way with every teacher, right? What do you think Jesus'
Mm-hmm.
mother? I think Jesus' mother might have said stuff like, "What are you doing?" No, I'm not sure she wasn't a Jewish mother like that. What are you doing? You don't have a job. Come on. Why are you hanging out with all those guys? You should be married by now. Are you not telling me something? Right? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's just part of the deal. But that's the saving grace. And that also gives us a full access backstage pass to the universe. I love that picture of JFK, John F. Kennedy, you know, when he's the Oval Office. That's kind of like the round table, you know, King Arthur, right? So he's there in the Oval Office and he has this desk that has, you know, you can open the middle part. There's a door in the front, you know, kind of like that. And to get an appointment with JFK, all the Secretary of State, the Ministers of Defense, and, you know, the head of the Congress, the Majority Whip, you know, all that, the cabinet member, they need to make appointments. You know, they need to schedule. They can't just walk in the door. But his little son, John, who's 3 years old, he can come and go at will anytime. And his beautiful pictures of President Kennedy sitting at the desk doing something, and little John with his little white shorts on. He's 3 years old. He's this little boy. He's right under the desk, in, you know, in that little opening in the middle, playing with whatever he's doing. That's complete access to the universe. God cannot resist love, just like the parent can't resist love. Now you can say, you can personalize the God like Bhakti Yoga, like Yogananda does. Now he did the mother, you know, changed it to the Father because the West could not have handled that back in 1920, 30, 40, 50.
Yeah.
But that approach to falling in love with the mystery, with God, however you perceive that. Rumi, that's why we all love Rumi now, because he's speaking from that place. He's like, I've fallen in love. Forget all that teaching wizard book study. I'm not interested. I'm not saying it's better. There's a time and place for engineers and all that stuff and the mental, but
Yeah.
the mental leading just makes us all bleeding. It doesn't work. It's atomic bombs and ridiculous wars and hurting people and headache medicines, and for every pharmacy you go to around here, there's probably like 5 within a mile right here. There's 2 aisles full of different kinds of headache medicine because we're in our heads. We're not balanced. So that's
Mm-hmm.
my interest with the Course of Awakening, is to sow seeds for this truth, for this reawakening, and then to give some practical methods. It's not going to be an easy journey because detoxing from heroin sucks in the beginning. And right now, as humans, we're detoxing from a death paradigm, a fear paradigm, a being controlled by the mental paradigm. And so there's lots of things that scare us when we try to shift over to live from the heart more and more direct and more honestly, because there's still a bunch of scared. We're all scared of it, with good reason, by the way. No blaming ourselves. See, there's a subtle thing about we suck and the ETs are all these beautiful people. No, 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 no. The brave souls have incarnated on Earth and are trying to do this. All right? So consider yourself, if you're trying to do this waking up while you're here on Earth in a normal human function, you're doing one of the highest things in this galaxy. You're stepping out. You're willing to get in the boat and sail around the planet. You're not, hanging out on that old planet where everything's peaceful. There's no money. Nothing ever happens. Right?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of souls have come to Earth. They're people who feel, I'm not from here. Yeah, you're right. But you decided to come here to see what this crazy experiment is. To try to fully incorporate a new type of God human that's functioning on all 7 chakras and more, the 8th and the black chakra and other things around us. And that's my crazy interest. Now, I know it's early, but 50 years, 100 years, 200, 500 years from now, people are going to go, yeah, that's the deal. We need to fully become the full embodiment, the full spectrum. Now, I know not everyone that comes across me is going to go full ascension this lifetime, but we're sowing seeds this lifetime, and we have all the time in the universe. So it's not about this push, push, rush, rush that I have to reach full embodiment, full ascension. It's safer to do it. It's more appropriate to do it um, at a pace that feels
Yeah.
more yours.
At your own pace. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what
And
I'm
you
wanting to do. That's
and you've been
Course of
doing
Awakening.
this for how long? How long have you been doing the Course of Awakening for? And you said that 27 years ago you were doing something a little bit more different, but then was it right after that, or you had to discover yourself again to start teaching these sort of courses?
Yeah, I had to go through. I was about, let's see, probably 25 years ago. I was 30 at the time. Yeah, it's a little less, like 21, 22 years ago when I went through that. And yes, at that point, I needed to kind of be away from the world or go through my own detox, at a whole nother level. Like it's like you're rebirthing yourself. It's like the wolf needs to crawl in the cave to heal itself. So I spent 3 years actually just sort of being alone, functioning in the world, but just doing my own internal process.
Mm.
And then having whatever jobs after my money ran out, I did whatever the universe would bring me, driving cars, like limos, like working, selling computer, just living whatever minimal amount. And then at a certain point, um, God hooked me up with I had a little video business, so I only had to work 2 days a week, and that was perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like I would just do it on the weekends and get little jobs here and there, or farm them out to people. The universe takes care of us. We're always taken care of, but it will humble your ego, this path. It'll humble your image worship. It'll squeeze that out of you. Um, and then eventually I started doing soul sessions, soul counseling sessions. I always did those kind of, but there was a 3-year period where I didn't do any of that. And then slowly that would grow. And then about 10 years ago, I started the spiritual adventure travel as well as the personal sessions, spiritualtravelers.com. And then I'd say about 5, let's see. And part of the spiritual adventure travel was spiritualtravelers.com was I would do the course of awakening on those trips. So that
Oh,
started
okay.
about 10 years ago. And I included these methods. Spirit showed me the basic one, the inner body awakening. This is, the body doesn't lie to you. You can be in your head with all this stuff, but cancer does not lie. You feeling a pain in your neck, which I've been going through the last 2 months, it's not lying. It's giving me a message. You feeling lethargic or tired, it's a message. Your body's not lying, because when you feel energized and full of the Holy Ghost Spirit Kundalini moving through you, you're like floating. You can walk in someplace and people are like, I want to talk to you. I don't know why. So you know what it feels like to be energized. And you know what it feels like to not be energized.
Mhm.
That's truth in energy. Truth in energy, And because that's the trump card. Energy is the trump card. We love puppies and babies because they still carry this effervescing, pure energy. It hasn't been shut down yet. Nobody can resist that. You can't resist it, I mean, you can some if you're really cynical, but if you're open at all and feeling it, you have to love the puppy, I take the little puppy we have out right now. I take it to the park tomorrow. I take it to the restaurant. 3/4 of the people are just going to go, oh, yeah, they're going to start melting, So the inner body, feeling your energetic body, I shouldn't even call it the inner body anymore. We could just call it the energy body, which is what the physical body is part of, but it's not the whole thing. We have koshas or sheaths, as the ancient Vedas call it. So the first thing is I am made of energy. But not just, oh yeah, that makes sense because that's what, quantum physics is. No.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
Satisfy the left brain. That's fine. Let's give it, honor the left brain. But then let's go into the right brain and drop down into the heart, drop down into the solar plexus, and then, God forbid, enter the danger zone of the sexual and root chakra, right?
Yeah.
And feel your toes and your fingers. I am made of energy. I am made of energy. I am made of tissues, bones, and cells. I am made of atoms. I'm made of tissues, cells, atoms, which are just pure energy. There's no protons or neutrons. That's just a made-up thing. I mean, we know the electron is just energy anyway. But the rest of them, they don't exist either. It's just empty. It's just fluctuating energies, and those energies come from consciousness. I am a fluctuating energetic field that pendles in and out between consciousness and energy all the time. That's all that's going on. I have chosen or accepted, or it so happened that I've shut down my awareness of that when I'm in, quote, a physical body. But as you start feeling your energy body again, you start really feeling it. Like right now when I'm doing that, I'm feeling it in the palm of my hands. I'm feeling it in my root chakra. My breath is doing me. And I start going into this warm, blissful space that heats me in the wintertime. It doesn't matter how cold it is here, I'm good. And paradoxically, it cools me in the summertime. So the first step for humans is, theory is good, but then let's give you, it's time to feel your own energies. Feel your own energies. And here's that method, the inner body awakening. Ancient Shiva technique. Eckhart Tolle talks about it in his book, The Power of Now, because it's the simplest technique there is, and it's the most fundamental. And it can be the most fundamental as well. It's really pleasurable. I mean, you literally just have what St. Teresa had, and Yogananda talks about. They'll just go into ecstasy for no reason. See that? For no reason. Once you get rid of the reason, you will have the ecstasy. That, yeah. Then the second method is, okay, once that now I'm starting to feel myself as energy, Newton is a liar. Sir Isaac Newton is an approximator of an old fallen gravitic system. The gravity thing with the apple on its head, duh, right? You know, that's obviously not true. When he says energy can neither be created nor destroyed, that's BS. Of course energy gets created. There's not enough puppy food. When our little boy puppy, just now a month ago, he found another family, but we had 11 golden retriever puppies. He went from 8 pounds to 16 pounds in 3 weeks. He did not eat 8 pounds of food in those 3 weeks. So where does that 8 pounds come from? Not the food, from the cosmic energy. So this Newtonian thing that there's only so you can only you have to convert, because there's no way he could convert 100% of that energy anyway. Even if he ate 50 pounds of food, there wouldn't be enough to add 8 pounds of meat to his body. But he did, because children know. We don't live by bread alone. We live by the energy. So the second step is to learn that I am an alchemy master, meaning I create energy and I dissolve energy. I'm a consciousness alchemical master that makes energy and chi, and the consciousness that my soul is a fountain of energy, unlimited energy. Well, that's a great theory, and you resonate to it as you're hearing it right now, because we know it's true. Those that are ready are like, yes, I remember, and I know that's true. So the second method is about just a simple method to remind us, everything is made of energy. I am the fountain. I am the power and the presence. The power and the presence of Source God operates through me. I am therefore a creator, manifester, and a dissolver of energy and manifested objects, which we have been carefully programmed that we're not. First thing the church teaches you is you're a piece of shit and a sinner, and you suck. You need to give all your money to us. Right?
So true, yeah.
Right? And I'm being harsh there, I know, but it's just a little shock value to get the truth of that. And materialism creates the same story. See, religionism and materialism are both creating that you are powerless, which is, of course, the opposite of the truth. You have all this unbelievable power. 1 gram of your flesh could run the city of Chicago energy needs for a year. That's how much energy is coalesced in your physical. And there's an unlimited supply of where that came from. That's some powerful beings. And when Jesus looks at us, he's probably had a hard day that day. And he says, don't you guys know you're gods? He's seeing us as gods, and we're like just confused, forgetful, terrified.
I'm not good enough, yeah.
Yeah, and traumatized through various beatings we get from our slave masters. So that's the second method. And then the third method, and these were simplified methods that Spirit showed to me. Here's some practical tools that everyone can use. And I love when people do them. There's a girl, she was 19 when she first started hearing about it. Now she's like 23, and she's off running her life. She's just living it, She's turned into this beautiful goddess. Her self-image is great. She travels the world. She teaches other people how to do it. You know, that feeds my heart and soul. You know, it's like a buzz. I get a little inkling of what the masters feel when they help somebody wake up. You know, it's like once you're a billionaire daddy, don't you love your grandkids the best and you want to just enjoy their successes? Well, that's kind of like God's source is like.
Yeah.
You can't tempt God with some fancy Notre Dame cathedral. I mean, he might enjoy it a little bit. She might enjoy it, but really, get real. God creates universe. You think a fancy rose window at the Notre Dame Cathedral is going to capture his attention? No. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you're right. No. What Source loves is the exchange of love. That's what we do too. We'll drop everything for love. Usually disguised as a romantic sexual affair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We'll quit. We'll just quit our job. We'll do anything for love. That's not bad. That's good. But you got to go all the way with it, you know, because that love that you feel with another person is a beautiful, powerful thing, and we will do anything to have it. But it is just a tiny hint at the collective orgasmic love that we really are. And that's why it usually doesn't work out long term, or it comes and goes and fades away and all that, because you know that's not the that's honored and to be honored as sacred. If you find full on fucking love, sacred merging, I'm using fucking on purpose, you know, full on romantic love connection with somebody, you should go for it. It's going to crash and burn, 98% sure. Yes, it's going to, but it's going to give you a shot at feeling that place of, now if you could do, and one of the things in the future is we're going to do transpersonal sexuality. That sounds so clinical, it's like disgusting. I don't even want to say that. We're going to right? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. We're going to do beyond the ego personality. We're going to do collective merging love with people. And we're going to know that. I know this is because the big lockdown is around sex, because sex is when it goes nuclear. You know what I'm saying? It's like, as soon as you add that, boom, you can't hide it. Because you cannot have an orgasm without having an orgasm. Meaning, you cannot have an orgasm without connecting a little bit to Source. God, last time I checked, the universe made it so that's how you make babies. You don't birth babies out of your head. You know, they don't come out of your brain. You know, last time the head doesn't open up and the babies come out. It's not how it works. So get real. That's the life force. That's the fire. That's the light my fire. That's the kundalini. That's the base of the spine. That's the not the only one, but it is a fundamental life center. And we're going to heal that too. But there's some work to do still to do that. We're still very, very, and we shouldn't be. This is not a promiscuity thing. This is not go out and have sex with everybody. Not at all. I'm the least promiscuous guy really I've known in this lifetime. I just don't, because again, you can merge your energies in places that later you're gonna have to clean up the mess. So this is why there was the warning against licentious sexuality from Spirit. At one point, Spirit had to say, time out, time out, time out, just one partner each, because you guys are out of control. Because we weren't conscious and connected to Source, and so therefore we were really creating all kinds of unhealthy energies with that. So
yeah.
there's a balance there. But so that the temporary martial law on sexuality has been martial law, meaning the gun will come out if you fuck the wrong person. Let's be honest, right? In the U.S., they call them shotgun weddings. If you got her pregnant, boy, you getting married. Right? I mean, right? We literally have had martial law sexuality on this planet.
And you talk about sexuality and sex, obviously, in your book, the listening to the song. That again, I think.
Again, that's a cool cover. Look, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a great cover. It's a great cover. And well, this is the second time that I actually reading the book. I just love it because you're really, really honest. Just previously, like a couple of minutes ago, you were saying that you wrote another book, and you said like you were really honest on that book, and I was like, wow, if you're more honest than this, I will definitely like read that one too.
That that book is called Shackled Gods. It's written in verse form, and it's about my heartbreak and and beauty, and it's not in a linear language form. It's more verse. So for the right people, that's awesome, and other people, it's a little heavy for them to read. But
Mm.
it's when I was actually going through my sadness and grief at the loss of soul, and I would just they would come complete. I never edited that stuff. I told God I'm so lazy. I don't want to edit anything, and if I write it down, I don't want to have to sit there and go back over it. So literally, I mean, things would come complete like an egg when I was writing that stuff. But that's how artists work. That's how the muses work. When Paul McCartney
Yeah, I
writes,
agree with that. Yeah.
when he writes yesterday, it's done. He wakes up in the morning and it's just right there.
Yeah, our kids
So
reach her with what's the satisfaction?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
And
that's and this is we have a lot of fun on the course. There's love and play, and there's some detoxing that can happen for people. In the last course in Aruba, a few people had some anger and fear come up. But we have so much help. That's a, it's your choice on the course. Most of it is very sweet, and we have a good time, a lot of laughter, and it feels good. Um, you know, and these the methods. I want to make sure people get to practice the methods some, and then there's some spontaneous what that soul or I something might come for me to say or trigger that or how are you feeling right now or some personal healing may occur as well. That's directed by the people attending your own soul. I try to be available as source wants to do that. I'm not a perfect channel of it. I'm pretty good, but I'm not a perfect channel of God's source. I wouldn't say that at this point. uh I'm checking in if Source has any commentary. He says, you're fine, Tobias. We gotta work with what we got. You're like usually God tells me, he goes, we're desperate, Tobias. You're the only one volunteering for this, so we gotta go with right?
And you do
So we
some
have a lot.
private sessions when you're traveling and teaching these courses?
Yes. So exactly, the soul sessions also which can be it can be the soul counseling session, which is sort of like whatever comes up. We enter this sort of timeless place. A lot of past life regression or soul retrievals tend to happen. Basically, I have people lay down and we do this method of just going into the energy. We sort of enter the no time space, the graceful space that Jesus talks about, where you can erase a lot of karma because you're entering the no time space. When you have unlimited time, a lot can happen. So it doesn't have to be this slow, trudging process. There's been some loosening of the karmic laws at this time on Earth. As we get more and more timeless, it goes easier. It's like when you start the wheel, there's a lot of work, but once you get it going. So some soul script readings. Sometimes it's good for a soul to hear from someone else or the confirmation from their own higher self, from source. This is who you are. This is what you're doing here. What they're ready to hear. Or
Yeah.
I don't I don't know everything about myself yet either. It was sort of on a need to know basis. So soul script readings, soul retrievals, past life regression stuff, soul sessions. Yeah, soul sessions I call them. So sometimes an individual session is really good for people, and a soul activation too, where we actually go in with the chakras and kind of torque and tweak them and clean them out and sound them. Get them wah 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 wah, get stuff moving again. Um,
Mm.
and some medical intuitive stuff too that just happens naturally, like we'll tweak energetic systems. If people have long-standing illnesses or conditions, we can go in and go, well, what's that about? What's that really about? Because it's not always for people to get healed. Healing, the presentation of symptoms is often a teaching for us. There's something there for us to look at. So sometimes it's not to get rid of the symptoms, but rather go, okay, what's underneath that? What's that about? And then once they see that thing, then the disease tends to start clearing itself up. Like this thing in my neck the last couple of months is for me to integrate another level for me of authenticity, of being honest what I really want. We're continually growing. Like a teacher that used to levitate in front of hundreds of people, you'd think he's pretty far along, right? They literally levitate, and he told one of my friends who was a student, he said, my next step can be just as big a step as you feel that you think I'm totally awake, but my next evolution has to do with me also letting go of who I think I am as well, and into a bigger self.
Mm.
So yeah, personal sessions can be helpful for the right people, and I love doing them. Yeah. So the course is Friday night, Saturday, all from 9 to 5, Sunday from 9 to 5 or so. We're not rigid on the times. It's whenever it sort of feels right. And then sometimes we go out for dinner, everybody who attended, or go someplace, or hang out a little bit, or have a potluck dinner right there at the location, so we get to hang out a little bit. And then I do personal sessions the next couple of days for people, depending on how many people want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah. I always love it because it's a buzz for me. It's an exercise in I love it because God when spirit works through us, that's a beautiful place to feel. So I always love showing up because I know I'm going to meet soulmates. I'm going to get to watch people process that, and that's my excitement. That's my enjoyment. Sometimes people ask me, "Don't you get tired of processing stuff?" I'm like, "No, because I'm not doing it for them. We might hold space, but yeah,
That's
it's kind of like
awesome. Right.
stepping up on the surfboard each time, going, "Okay, here we go." Yeah,
And then paddle back.
yeah. There's no back. There's no paddling back. It's like when you work with spirit, it's like, no, you're always right there. There's a way. Do you want it or not? Like the work goes away. Working with spirit, being with spirit, functioning, I should say, aligning with spirit makes work go away. George Carlin says it a little harsher. He says work is for people with no talent.
I haven't heard that before.
Now that's a little harsh. I
Which is
know.
true, though. I mean, if you really think about it.
The universe, it's a truism, and I know it's hurtful to people when they're in that position, when they have kids or they're working and they're not enjoying their job, or then they're in the process of finding that. But it is true. Once we find our expression, the universe rewards us for it, and that includes material being taken care of, whether it's through money or you don't have to operate in money. You'll be taken care of. Like people offer houses to me to stay at, or come sail on the boat or something. I'm interested in not owning it. I appreciate that people do, but I don't really want the upkeep and the boat slip fees. You know what I'm saying? On the boat.
Yeah.
And but God doesn't own anything, and yet God owns everything. Yeah. There's new models we're learning. So yeah, I love it. I love doing it. It's the most fun I can think of. Like today, I did a session with a woman, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't." Or talking to you right now, as we started. and I'm feeling the inner body when we were doing that. I'm going, this is what I want to be doing. It's not a job for me. Like, actually look forward to any exchange, because that's when God shows up.
Mm.
And I want to offer that to people. Offer this possibility of all of us are access points to Source. So Source wants to express through you in your own particular way. And that can be anything: farming, teaching surf lessons. It could be writing a book, having kids. I mean, all of it. And there's a way to have that function enjoyably. Like, I might look at the guy who's starting the farm here, in downtown Phoenix. I go, man, that's a lot of work. And he's like, no, it isn't. I love it. You know what I mean? Because it's the Tao, is God, is the universe that wants to do it. And when it wants to do it, there's no effort.
Yeah, if you
It's just
enjoy it.
flow. Yeah.
All right, Tobias, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm
Much love.
really
Yeah.
looking forward to be part of the Course of Awakening, and